Hey guys, I'm Chantel.
And I'm Chris.
And this is Tube Addicts.
Forgotten Fridays.
Hey Chris, I am so glad you're back. I know our family has went through something crazy this last few weeks, but I'm glad you're back.
I'm glad to be back. I am definitely glad to be moving a little bit further past that. I'm still a little bit wet from the storm, so to speak.
Well, for the next hour or so, I need your head in the game because I have two crazy cases for us.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm always open.
So after the last episode we did together, Brandy Wells, I couldn't get Lavender Doe off of my mind. I know we only cover missing person cases on Forgotten Fridays, but Lavender's story, who is actually Dana Dodd, case definitely falls under forgotten, sadly. She went unidentified for 12 years.
And this is, I remember this one. This one was the unidentified body that was in the oil field, yes?
Burning, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's sad. I remember.
Of course, I took a deep dive into the internet in search of answers and as to what happened to Lavender Doe. And man, did I find a lot.
Do tell.
She wasn't always Lavender Doe. Her real name is Dana Dodd, like I said. She was born September 6, 1985, and she was 21 at the time of her disappearance. Since we know how Dana's story ends, I figured I would give us some info on how Dana ended up in the field in Gregg County burning.
I would definitely be open to hearing that, though I'm sure this is going to be quite the tragic tale.
Yep. Dana was from Jacksonville, Florida, but she apparently had a rough childhood and left her parents' home around the age of 14. It seems she wasn't really raised by either of her parents. Her mother left her when she was a baby, and her father was homeless and arrested multiple times. She lived with her stepmother for a bit and ended up bouncing around from place to place. So already we see Dana has lived a rough life. I mean, 14 is pretty young to move out of your parents' home.
14 is pretty young to move out of your parents' home.
Still a kid.
I mean, yeah, and this is like you're living, like you haven't fully lived, but you're living now, and this is a rough way to live. That's tough.
At the time of her disappearance, Dana had joined a traveling magazine sales crew and was selling magazines at a Walmart in Longview, Texas. Basically, the traveling magazine company is how she ended up in Texas. Selling those magazines would sadly be what got her to that field in Kilgore.
Oh my Lord.
The body of a white female between the ages of 17 and 25 years old was found on October 29, 2006 in Kilgore, Texas. And I hope I'm saying that right. She was found lying face down on a pile of burning brush. The body was severely burnt, but her clothing, including a purple sweater and a pair of jeans, was recovered. Police believed the body had been set on fire merely minutes before it was discovered. They found $40 in her pockets. It is believed she died between 8:15 p.m. and 10 p.m. the previous day. And if you're wondering, the purple sweater is how she became Lavender Doe.
That is really sad.
Yeah.
That's $40 in her pocket, though? I mean, so was the pants not on her? Because I'm confused. I think they would burn off, right?
I would think that too. It didn't say.
There's no way.
Initially, she was believed to have been as young as 13, and race and sex were considered unknown until further study. Due to the recovery of an empty gasoline can from the scene and the nature of her death, the case was investigated as a homicide. Semen was found upon forensic examination, indicating that she may have been a victim of rape prior to her death.
This answers my question, and that is very sad. So how old is she at this time? Because I know she was
actually 21.
Okay, 21.
Mm-hmm.
That's
still young, and that's Sam's age.
That's still very sad.
Yeah. Because of the condition of the body, the face was reconstructed 3 times with clay in a sketch by a forensic artist. And in January of 2014, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children released a digital composite image produced from a CT scan after the remains were exhumed on October 2nd, 2013. It should also be mentioned that according to residents in the area, there were many suspicious people in the vicinity of the field where the body was discovered. It was actually even referred to as the killing grounds, which is crazy if you remember Brandy Wells' car was found in the same area.
Oh my. Maybe they connect more than
we know.
That is crazy. But I'm kind of baffled at the fact that, wow, someone can really do this. Like, who would do this? Like, any of that? Rape, burning the body, that is
a lot.
Sick. There's something not right in your mind that you don't value a life this much. I can't. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it.
And by the way, guys, apparently I've decided I cannot speak this evening. So we're just going to do the best we can.
Prayer.
Despite the comparison of dental records and DNA to the large number of missing persons, they never came up with a match. After the release of the most recent reconstruction, the mother of missing 23-year-old Brandy Wells, who disappeared after going out to a nightclub in Longview, Texas, in August 2006, contacted authorities, feeling the composite strongly resembled her daughter. DNA testing eliminated the possibility that the unidentified body could be Brandy Wells. And that's where we left off in Brandy's case, remember? And we were like, how is there another body out here?
Now I'm caught up and have the full spectrum of pieces put together. That's crazy that they are both around the same age.
Mm-hmm. It is
23
really
to
weird.
21. It's so similar that,
it is really weird. It's not until 2007 that a suspect finally emerges. Joseph Wayne Burnett, then 36, who is a convicted sex offender and was in prison for another crime at the time that the police announced their suspicions of him. And Burnett previously denied involvement in the murder. However, on August 27, 2018, he confessed to the killing of Lavender Doe, along with the 2018 murder of Felicia Pearson. Burnett claimed he convinced the victim to enter his vehicle when she was selling items from a magazine.
I'm starting to pick something up from these cases. It's that most of these people who are suspected or they are mentioned in these crimes, most of them have a previous past in criminal activity. Like, they are known criminals. And then it's like, it just makes me kind of wonder. I don't know. Maybe that's just like my brain thinking weird, but how is, like, this person was able to get off of this and then go into another crime of murder? Like, how did y'all determine that he was rehabilitated?
Right, when he clearly was not.
I'm just saying.
So let's get into how this massive piece of shit, Joseph Burnett, got to his confession. He was initially held in the Gregg County Jail on a $500,000 bond, with a charge of failure to register as a sex offender. It is unclear, but Felicia, his other murder victim, was either his girlfriend or they were just roommates. Some sources say one and some say the other. Felicia's mom reported her missing July 19th to Longview police under unusual circumstances. Pearson's body was found in the woods off West Birdsong Street in Longview. On that same day, the Gregg County Sheriff's Office announced it was looking for Burnett, 41, who had failed to register as a sex offender. So they're looking for him because he didn't register as a sex offender from before when he was in jail.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So they're only looking for him because of this and not for the fact that he has murdered 2 people.
They're now about to find. So what you're going to see is, and I don't know if I wrote it out here, but basically I'll just explain it real quick. He murdered Brandy in 2006 and then went to prison for what he did from 2007 for like 10 years. And then when he got out, he was supposed to register as a sex offender, but he didn't. So they go put a warrant out for him because of that and end up finding out, oh, he's murdered another woman too. And now we know he murdered Brandy back in the day. But he got away with it for that whole time after he murdered Brandy.
You see, so he's a sex offender, which I'm just going to say that's rape.
Yeah, he's fucking
and
disgusting.
You're a murderer. Both are in the same category to me. Either way it goes,
right.
I'm just saying that both should be held accountable because you held someone's life in your hand. I don't understand this, and I really don't understand how it took. Like, he's not registered as a sex offender, but he murdered people. Like, this man was not fit to be out here in society.
Right. Just the worst of a human. Like, it can even be considered a human. He's horrible. And Pearson's mother confronted Burnett at the hotel about her daughter, with Burnett telling her only that Pearson had left and not returned. Can you imagine that? Like, he knows he killed her daughter. And to look at her in her face, like, what a psychopath.
That is, you know what? That's what it is. You are crazy. You don't understand what the value of a life is.
Right. Or how to connect with human feelings or humans or anything like that.
Oh, man.
On August 21st, Burnett gave a full confession, which corroborated the investigation's fact of the death of Felicia Pearson. During his confession, Burnett also confessed to the murder of a woman in 2006, who remained unidentified until February 2019. Investigators in the Lavender Doe case had actually named Burnett as a person of interest based on evidence found at the crime scene back in 2006. The semen left in her. He then went to prison for 10 years for failing to register as a sex offender, then later got out and got with Felicia and didn't register again, so another warrant was issued, and Felicia's family says if they'd gotten to him sooner, this would have never happened. So basically just what you just said. Had he got, after killing Dana, he already was in trouble and had a warrant for not registering then, because he had done something then. He goes to prison for that, gets out, doesn't register, and if he would have had to register, Felicia, would have known that he was a sex offender and probably wouldn't have been with him. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, she didn't even have a way of knowing because he didn't register. And he wasn't forced to register until it was too late.
Why? I have another thing. Why isn't that something that's like handled in prison? Like, before
right.
he gets out,
right?
Like, you register
a requirement to leave. That makes no sense.
Because that would mean like he could be in a neighborhood with like kids, children,
probably
and
was.
Still be. Wow.
It's crazy. When Burnett came across her, she tried to sell him something, and this is Dana, by the way, which he refused. But as per reports, he did solicit sex from her. Burnett later alleged that Dana tried to steal from him while having sex. This enraged him enough to strangle Dana to death. That is when she was later found face down in that burning wood pile. It took 12 years to solve her case. 12 years to know who she was.
You're enraged to the point that you would strangle a person to death? That's crazy
and then go
to
set
me.
them on fire.
Another thing, you are saying that you had consensual sex with her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe so. That's just me personally. I just don't believe. I mean, she's in the vehicle, but it's just.
Well, this is the thing too. I don't know if you noticed, but they knew. They considered him a suspect back in 2006 when they found her body.
Mm.
The only reason they had his semen from inside of her, the only reason he got off is because he said that he had consensual sex with her. So there goes the system not giving a fuck, basically.
Hold up. I need an anatomy lesson. So it doesn't. You would think that it would have already fallen out of there. Like, isn't there like a system?
Semen can stay in the body for a few days.
What type of relationship are they having that any woman lets you do that with her and she's not worried or panicking? You're a random guy.
And not to mention, Dana was traveling selling magazines, not herself.
Yeah.
You know, like the idea to believe, oh yeah, she was just selling herself. Like, that immediately is saying.
I don't agree with that at all. And that's the way that you're coming at her character in that type of way.
Like, she is the one.
Honestly, I feel like you are the despicable party in this instance, because she is the one who is left being spoken for and you're still alive.
Right.
Right?
Right. Clearly, automatically, something is already wrong because she's not here to speak for herself. Like, that's a problem. On December 15, 2020, Burnett pleaded guilty in court to the 2 murder charges and the sex offender charge. He offered the reason for his guilty plea by saying, "I want to do this. I want to get it over with. I want everybody to get their closure. Burnett was sentenced to 3 concurrent 50-year prison sentences for each of the 3 charges against him. He would also be eligible for parole after 25 years. Currently, Burnett is incarcerated in the George Beto Unit in Tennessee Colony, Texas, and will be eligible for parole in 2043, according to prison records. Should we be eligible for parole at all?
I don't believe so. If you've taken a life, I feel like you have to give up your whole life. Like, it should be like equal exchange for just making it to where it's not. You don't want to do it. There's no possible chance that anyone would be okay with this.
Like, just go serve my time, knock it out, and if someone pisses me off and do it again, I'll just serve more time, whatever.
That's ridiculous. You didn't just murder someone. You raped someone. Like, you are despicable.
And set them on fire. Like, didn't even offer a chance for their body to be respected.
I can't imagine a mom putting that away.
She didn't get the chance for a very long time. Honestly, it's worse. He did something worse to where she didn't even get every day. She never knew what happened to her kid and can only wonder. And somebody just went unknown, forgotten.
That's so sad.
Eventually, Burnett pleaded guilty for both homicides and was sentenced to 50 years in jail for each murder. And although it feels nice to have the closure, since we usually don't in our missing person cases, I truly hate that this was the end for Dana Dodd, known so long as Lavender Doe.
That is a sad end to a tale. The only silver lining is that you can't even say it's a silver lining that he's found guilty, because, well, what if they think he's rehabilitated and release him back into the public again?
Or time served for good behavior. And like the fact that this person who has shown such aggression and horrible behavior towards women, like, how can you let this type of a person out at all?
You see, I would say this person needs therapy, but the thing is a lot of us go through traumatic things, and a lot of us need therapy, but a lot of us also don't go out and just kill anybody or treat anybody in any type of way. The thing that you learn after like a certain age in childhood, as a child, you're kind of an evil person. Like, you don't really understand or feel. But the thing that you're supposed to let go is that, like, if you do this to me, I wouldn't like that, so I won't do it to you. This lack of that shows me that this person doesn't even have that. Like, that's just the moral choosing between right and wrong. Like, you're...
and at the same time, too, it makes you wonder, were they the only ones? Were they really the only ones, or just the only ones he admitted to?
I would hope, because he, in my, you'd think he wouldn't have to bring up Dana. He wouldn't have to bring her up. Like, that's not obviously what he was there for. So it's like him, I feel like, and this is why I feel like people should serve life. Like, if you murdered someone, if you did anything like that, because notice it had to have eaten him up, right? Like, it's living with, even though you got away with this, this is where I believe in karma, because you're not gonna get away with this. That's what I hope for anyone who does wrong in this world. I hope you don't get away with that, because then what's the point of doing good?
And it's also really sad to think that, like, if they knew back in 2006 they had his DNA, and if they would have maybe pushed harder, or sat there and kept him in an interrogation room for 2 days like they do, people who aren't really guilty, it's like maybe they could have got that answer, and maybe Felicia wouldn't be dead. You know what I mean? Like, literally, Dana.
Yeah. Because if you're found for murder back in 2006, boom, Felicia never happens.
Yeah.
No way.
And it's unfortunate for her family that... And her ex-husband, I don't know why I didn't list it here, but her ex-husband, I actually read in one of the articles that he said, like, he was speaking on her, and he was like, if she would have known he was a sex offender, she would have never been with him. So it's like, just thinking those little things.
Dang, you know what? That just goes to show, like, you don't know the person you could be dating. This is why I stay very cognizant these days.
I have to with cheer.
My nieces.
Yep. So It's really unfortunate and sad that Dana's story had to end like this. And again, I know we usually only do missing person cases, but when we heard of her and Brandy's case, like, unfortunately forgotten fits for her situation, and not forgotten by her family, but by, the people who needed to be solving it. And it took this long of a time, and the evidence was there the whole time.
That's the sad
He would have
part.
got away with it had he not told the truth, even though his semen was inside of her when found dead.
God, that just rubs me wrong every time I hear it.
I know,
Like,
I hate him so much.
that's so. You just gotta get checked. You gotta, because that's the reason why I am so. I just don't get it, because there should not be a point where a woman feels scared to be around a man.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that that's a thing. Mm-hmm. I hate that a woman could, the same way that, like, with like being an African American, you're pulled over by the cops. I hate that that is how a woman can feel with a man. You should be safe around anyone. You should feel safe and comfortable around all people, thinking that this person will treat me with the same respect. Yeah, with decency.
Right.
I cannot understand this in our society, and until it is broken, I will forever think that this world is just it's doomed. We're doomed as a people.
I feel the same way, and so do millions of other women. Well, I was so excited that you were back, Chris. I decided to find another case for us today. And sadly, there is no shortage of missing person cases in the Lone Star State. So are you up for another?
After that dizzy, I'm regathering, but I'll definitely, I can bounce back.
Okay, now remember, we're going back to our missing person cases. So unfortunately, we won't get the same answers like we did in Dana's case. But
Yep. I have to. I'm grounding myself right there. You know how I'm already pulling the flags out. I gotta have the flags on deck because I may have to throw them down.
Before I start, you should know that I wrote this whole case up and my computer froze and wiped all 6 pages of my work. I was pissed, but that is neither here nor there, and Prisma's story still deserves to be told because no one is forgotten on Forgotten Fridays. So let's get it. Prisma Peralta Reyes was 26 years old at the time of her disappearance. She disappeared from Dallas, Texas on April 17, 2019. On top of being beautiful, she was a paralegal that served in the National Guard and a loving mother to her young son. Prisma is originally from Veracruz, Mexico, and had become a U.S. citizen a few years prior to her disappearance.
I respect this story.
She is super pretty. I'm actually going to pull up a picture so you can see. But in the meantime, now, this case is so baffling to me because we actually have footage of her entering a place that she has never seen leaving, and yet to this day, we still have no clue what happened to Prisma.
Wait, so she's not seen, like, is there only, like, just one entrance? Like,
we will get to that, so let's do it. On April 17, 2019, Prisma left her job at a local car dealership to go have lunch with her ex-boyfriend. Now, it is said that the ex-boyfriend was abusive and that it was a very volatile relationship, but people close to her did say she had been trying to rekindle that relationship.
Oh, my Lord. So, just know your worth. You're worth way more than that. You don't have to go back to this person who devalue, like, they don't value you.
Right.
Don't continue to show how little you value yourself by continuing to accept them. You're worth way more than that.
It's never worth going back. Never, never, never. If situations, you got kids or whatever, you can try to make things work in a healthy way. But if things aren't healthy, it's never worth going back.
And so it's better to just keep that person at a distance because it's better for you and the kid.
Exactly. They met for lunch at the E-Bar Tex-Mex restaurant, which was located on North Haskell Avenue. While at the restaurant, the two actually got into a verbal argument, and the ex-boyfriend left her there.
Hey, Tube Addicts. Now, you already know how I feel about Anchor. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
So Prisma actually stayed at the restaurant after he left. She's seen in the restaurant footage that I'll link in the show notes if you want to check it out. She calls her babysitter and lets her know that she will pick her son up at 7:30 p.m. She then ends up staying at the restaurant for 3 hours until the bartender stops serving her. So she was clearly very upset about the argument that occurred with that ex. Some sources say she was kicked out and some do not. Either way, she did end up leaving.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, she's drinking heavy. The signs are already there. Yeah, this is why you got to just leave it behind you. Just leave it behind you.
I mean, literally, you went to go have lunch, which should be a normal occurrence. Yeah, and yet here you two are fighting, and to the point where he leaves you. To me, like, if a dude will leave you somewhere, he does not care about you at all.
He doesn't about you.
This is proof that something can happen to you. That dude ain't shit. Like, she should not have.
It's kind of like a parent, like a parent leaves you somewhere. They don't care about you.
And literally him leaving her, now she's missing. It's like, that is the worst example of what can happen when you're with a dude that cares about you so little. Mm-hmm. So again, ladies, listen to me. If a dude treats you this way, do not be with him, because Lord forbid this ever happen.
And growing up, I was always so protective of our mother. Mm-hmm. And so just hearing that they're, like her son, it's just, that's always a fear. Like,
oh yeah. And you were.
What if mom never comes back?
Yeah, you were very protective like that too.
That's so sad.
That is sad. So and to think that her son, well, let's just move on. Now, again, I want to say that this next part was listed in a couple sources, but not all of it was actually verified. With that being said, after leaving the restaurant, Prisma was involved in a verbal road rage incident nearby. Police were called to the scene, but Prisma was no longer there when they arrived. Authorities did speak with the other driver and confirmed the incident did not have anything to do with her disappearance. So the reason why I said that earlier is because they never actually verified she was there. When they left, the other person was gone. So I don't want to,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But it's worth mentioning because it's connected to a lot of the articles and the police report information that I read.
I will say, for people around my same age, just in the early stages of 20, there should never be a time where you are out in public and you are too drunk. Mm-hmm. It should not be a thing, because especially, and it shouldn't be this way, but especially being a woman and being too drunk because that can be how something happens. And especially just the littlest thing is sometimes it's just crazy to think that not everybody knows not to drink a drink if you left it alone, you know. So
although if you don't know that, you should.
Mm-hmm, you should. Mm-hmm. Just because this world is freaking crazy.
Prisma then drove to the Olympus at Ross Apartments in Dallas, where her ex-boyfriend lived. She was captured on surveillance footage entering the parking garage. On the footage, you can see she parks her Jeep right in front of the entrance while another car is entering and then runs in the gate quickly. My first thought on this is she is calling her ex over and over after the fight, and he's not answering, so she shows up at his place wanting to talk again. Not sure he would let her in. She made sure she could get in, And the way she parked her car, basically blocking that road, shows she's planned to stay only for a little while, because obviously it's Dallas, a big city. You can't just block. Clearly she's just trying to run in and try to go talk to him. And obviously not in her right mind, maybe, maybe drunk, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, she sat at the bar for 3 hours. So not only was she drinking, but she's devastated, clearly, from whatever that talk was.
There'd be some like that, especially with a significant other. And that's the thing with a toxic situation or a toxic relationship. This person knows how to get under your skin. So it's like you're gonna sit there and it's gonna really haunt you and get in your mind because it's like, damn. And it's because they know you.
Oh, yeah. Like, and wait till you hear what he was doing and how much he cared. Police did confirm the ex actually left out of town to hang out with friends after leaving the restaurant. So he actually wasn't at home when she went to his apartment and didn't return for a few hours. So that conversation was very devastating for her, but he just went out of town.
What kind of...
This guy's a dick.
Like, oh my. Your boyfriend application is looking very off after this.
I know I'm biased because I am definitely, here for guys not being dicks to their girlfriend and leaving them somewhere where they can fall into harm's way. But, I mean, come on, dude. Like, what was the point of even going out to the restaurant? Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm obviously, I try not to be toxic myself. But that just seems so toxic. Like, you didn't even really want to talk to her so much. You just bounced up out of there and went to hang out with your friends afterwards. You didn't care. So why'd you even meet up with her?
Yeah, that's
a string along.
You see, it's like the thing that I always like to do is with certain things, if you just take the gender out of it, because it's like, well, people be like, oh, but a man should want to protect a woman. We're far past those days. Oh, yeah. Right? We're far past those days. So, but to leave someone stranded, just
any person, your friend, your
man, woman.
We say that about girls. Don't ever leave your girl, your friend or whatever. Don't ever leave her at the club alone.
I'm just like, if I was left somewhere, like boom, someone got in the car, dips off, and now that's just wrong either way. Because
like that time mom left you at the school.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking that's why I said the parent thing earlier, and I was like,
I feel
that.
Yeah, I knew. The footage also shows her talking on her cell phone and getting onto the elevator. She made 9 short phone calls between 5:49 and 6:01 p.m. 5 of them to her ex-boyfriend. The second to last call was to a friend. Prisma was in the elevator of the building at the time, crying, saying she needed help and felt confused, as if something wasn't right. Since her friend was out of state, she was unable to assist her. Police did identify and spoke to the person she was on the phone with, but they did not have any information about her whereabouts.
You remember the Susanna case? You remember how you said she had called her sister, and she was basically saying something along those lines of how she was.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know if that's...
If these things suck, I can't imagine being that friend, knowing that you were the last person they talked to and that something happened to them right after talking to you. And that you, even when you take that call, you know that like you can't help. You're not there. There's nothing you can do to help. And your friend clearly is in need of help.
That's sad because, and I mean, for people, it's just natural for us to take on like something like, oh, well, I could have, there's something I could have, there's nothing you could have done.
Right.
You can't have done anything differently. It doesn't matter if you would have called someone or reached out.
Right.
Time is always of the essence. So it's like you had to have been there at that split second. You can't.
I definitely hate these situations for people to go through. And I think anytime you lose someone, we all have some form of this guilt or whatnot. Right. And I'm actually watching this movie right now for Too Bad at Tuesdays, where in the movie, the dad basically, like, his son's in prison, and the dad gets a call where he's young, he's like 17, ends up in adult prison. And the dad gets a call, and while he's on the phone with him, some other guy comes up and get the fuck off the phone, and like, scary and everything. And that's how he hears the son, and the phone hangs up. And I was thinking while I'm watching it, like, as a parent, can you imagine hearing that your child's in danger, or your friend, or a loved one, and knowing that they could be hurt and there's nothing you can do? And then in this case, they actually end up being hurt, or missing,
That's another thing we need to get rid of in this society. Just that Neanderthal alpha, I have to be such a dominant personality.
Why is it still like that in prisons? Like, why can't everyone just be like, hey, we all are in here. This sucks. Why make it worse on each other?
Yes.
Like, I will never understand that. Like,
it's and it makes you wonder, like, is that why y'all act the way like that? Our last, speaking about Dana again, I mean, that guy.
mm-hmm.
Is you were, incarcerated previously. Is this why you treat women this way? Did something happen to you? Do you need to talk?
That's what I always try to say. Like, who hurt you?
Mm-hmm.
What made you like this?
There's no way you're just acting like this just naturally.
Right.
Like as kids, we all start off with innocence. So it's like, how did something had to have been tainted in you for that innocent view of the world to get this far diminished?
Right.
No way as a little kid you were talking about this.
And again, like we said, we all have been through fucked up stuff. So it's like, at the same time, even though I feel for what you may have been through, you still can't kill people, dude. Like, what the fuck?
It's like Batman. Batman saw both of his parents be killed, right?
He saved people.
He saves people. And then, I mean, whatever villain reason you have for being a villain, it's still, like, I could have been bad. I could have used this as a reason for doing fucked up things, but I didn't.
Right. Another resident did reveal to police that they got on the elevator with Prisma and she was crying, but they did not see what floor she got off on. They also were cleared. She was not seen leaving the building, but not all the exits have cameras, and she was never heard from again. So going back to what you asked earlier, she was never, ever, ever seen leaving this apartment complex, but not all exits have cameras.
What happened to her is my question.
It's even worse when you hear this next part. At 9:30 p.m., 2 hours after Prisma was supposed to pick up her son, the babysitter became worried and reported her missing. The next day, Prisma's Jeep was found abandoned outside the apartment complex where she was last seen, in the 3500 block of Roseland Avenue, near North Hall Street. It was still blocking the intersection near the apartment gate. So even if she left, her car is still in the same place she left it. I want to come back to this. This is Dallas. When she went into that apartment complex and left her car in the middle of the road like that, it was to run in fast and get in and go tell her boyfriend what she had to say. It was not to be gone forever. So what the fuck happened to her? Even if she left
my question is just in regards to apartment complexes. There's no way you can park your vehicle like that without somebody reporting that you have your vehicle parked like that. People are grade A-holes. There's no way that someone wasn't like, hey, tow that right there. So how was your vehicle not reported that anything was strange with it within this time frame? Because that vehicle should have, and then you reach out to the vehicle owners, you do something, right? There should be a process.
Yeah. Police found no evidence of foul play. In the footage by the elevator, which again I will link in the show notes, she can be seen with her cell phone and purse, but neither items were ever found. This is so beyond crazy to me. How can someone be seen on footage walking into an apartment complex and never leaving? Just vanishes. How does this happen? Even if she left out of one of the exits without cameras, why did she not return to her Jeep? Is it really likely that she was just snatched up off the sidewalk as soon as she exited the one of a couple doors that didn't have cameras? Like, how likely is that?
That's improbable. Well, again, I would hope that that's unlikely, but it's like, these cases show me that people really can go missing like that. People can really...
But, like, it's weird to me because, like, even if that's the case, this is her boyfriend's apartment complex. She's been here. She knows it. Why would she not exit at her truck?
But this is somewhere that she's been before, so it could be that somebody was watching her that had seen her before.
It makes me feel like it has to be something. She knows somebody around there, and she went into their apartment and never left it. It has to be, because the likelihood that she really just walked out of an exit and someone just grabbed her up and took her. I mean, just how likely is that really on the street in Dallas?
No. A place that big without anyone seeing
during daytime.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even in the middle of the night or anything. This is daytime. It wasn't even 7 or anything. You know, the Texas sun is out all day, the whole day.
So broad daylight being snatched up, there's no way, unless people are really just that they just don't care that much.
I mean, to me, that only way that's possible is a white van rolling up and throwing you in. That's the only way that's possible, because nobody's going to be able to grab you, hold your mouth, you're kicking and screaming, and someone else not see it.
I mean, she's not still like
and
under
it's
the
an
influence,
apartment complex. Right? Even if she is, when you're drunk, you're still going to kick and scream. It's an apartment complex. That's what doesn't sit right with me. To me, she's seen someone she knew and went in their place, and they hurt her.
And so, but the boyfriend was already gone. He
has an alibi. He apparently was out of town with homeboys. So, there's that. An investigator said she seemed disoriented and out of it when she was by the elevator because she was swaying back and forth while on the phone. I really want you guys to watch the video because she doesn't seem that way to me. I pace while I'm on the phone. If I'm upset, I can only imagine it would be worse. Let me show you, Chris. So let's take a sec.
So now, having seen that, I find it strange that, in my opinion, she did look nervous. Like, just ever so slightly. Like, pacing is normal. It's very normal. I do it. But that, like, the constantly looking over there, and then she moved, like, over to her right side, and then she moves forward as if to get out of line of sight. And then she goes back that direction. That's strange. And, I mean, does she smoke cigarettes?
I don't know.
Because, I mean, there's always a thing of, like, if you're going through an anxious moment and you've ever smoked a cigarette, there's always, when you're going through something, well, let me get a cigarette. And so if you see someone smoking a cigarette, there's always that chance you may ask them. So,
yeah.
Possible.
And to be honest, now that we've talked about it, like I said, I think she's seen somebody there that she maybe knew and whatnot.
Yeah,
and
you did too.
That she went in there to, maybe like you said, smoke a cigarette or something like that. And that's what occurred. She didn't look like fucked up to me. She just looked like she was on the phone, upset, talking shit maybe, and waiting on her ex-boyfriend to pop up. That could have been the nervousness too, you know. But I agree with you. It's weird how she kind of looks. You guys should look at it. Like I said, I'm going to link it in the show notes. Check it out. See what you think. Comment. Let us know. I seen that too. I noticed how she was noticing some, like, kind of turn her head a couple times and then moves up, like you said. And because I know me, if I'm like in a place where like I'm talking on the phone, I get this awkward feeling like I'm that guy that's on the phone yelling because, you know, I'm kind of loud and everything.
Oh, yeah. Especially out in public.
Right. So I could easily see me seeing someone and being like, let me move up a little so they don't see me out here yelling and everything. Especially if you're upset and you're on the phone like, he's an asshole, you know, or whatever. But check it out, guys, and let me know what you think.
I'd definitely be curious to hear some theories.
Yeah. It's literally the video of her by the elevator. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but it's the recording that the surveillance footage they have of her by the elevator on the phone with that friend. Prisma's mother still believes her daughter is alive and was kidnapped. After she went missing, the father to Prisma's son showed up wanting to take his son. The odd part to her family is that he had never been involved in his son's life, not even sending financial assistance to help care for him. Some family members believe he may have caused her disappearance so he could get his son with no issues, knowing that she would never just give him up. How likely is this? I'm not sure. I mean, how could he know where her current ex-boyfriend lived? But at the same time, if he followed her or somehow did know, that would be quote unquote the perfect murder. Because it could then never be pinned on him. Likely no, but tell me that wouldn't be genius. And I hate saying genius, horrible, but you know, like
genius in a very messed up way. If you had just ill intentions.
Oh yeah, plotted and knew where the ex lives so that you go miss. I mean, that fucked up. But again, I don't actually put any weight behind it. He'd have to, like, how would he know if he's not involved in her life?
But that you were saying that she could have went to a familiar place. how familiar of a place than another ex?
Yeah, who knows? Or she just noticed him and started talking to him. Or if he did follow her, she walked on the side of the street out of the exit. You will never convince me that she walked out of a random exit knowing her truck was somewhere else. You'll never convince me of that. But say she did, I guess maybe he could have snatched her up there.
With, like, this ex that she's leaving, he has one of those dominant personalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
With these dominant personalities, to be in a relationship with them most of the time, you then become submissive.
Mm-hmm.
So if she plays the submissive role in most of her relationships, then it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that another dominant personality came in and...
To me, it has to be someone in the apartment that she ran into, or it truly has to be someone that did follow her and was following her that whole time and snatched her up. Again, you won't convince. I'm sorry, but I will never be convinced that she walked out of an. It just doesn't make sense. Even if you're fucked up, oh, my car's over there. Damn it, or whatever. Like,
Yeah, you're a mom. So at the forefront of her mind, she's probably also thinking about her child. There's no reason why a mom who has been this consistent in her kid's life would then be inconsistent all of a sudden. That doesn't just happen overnight.
Right, and clearly the babysitter thought that way too, because she's the one that called,
So she already thought that this was out of the ordinary. If it was in normal standings, then she wouldn't have never been like, oh, this is just
Carol, she didn't come get, or whatever, The family denies she would up and leave her son or that she may have been suicidal. Besides the breakup, her life was actually going well. On top of her dealership job, she was also a paralegal. I mean, she had a 2017 Jeep, which was damn near brand new at that time. So she clearly wasn't struggling or doing bad. She also had a gun that was found inside her Jeep. So if suicide was the plan, she would have taken the gun.
I mean, she was in the National Guard, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could understand having a firearm.
Oh yeah, not abnormal that she had it at all. Mm-hmm. I think they just feel like if she was like if anyone is trying to say like maybe she was suicidal or just up and left, it's like the gun's there, And
again, I could not see her just leaving her kid.
Like, why?
Like that would be just
or her life.
Sense.
Again, she's got a
doing well,
life.
Which I just want to say that maybe. I mean, when your significant other is doing well, if you are not a big enough person to understand and see this as a good thing for this person and their life, well, then, you're going to start getting jealous. The problems, then now you're being aggressive for a whole different reason, and you're not actually taking into account the way you're feeling or why you're feeling this way.
And then also, too, it makes you wonder... it's always the first person they look at. It's always the spouse or the boyfriend, and her ex being, abusive. He has an alibi. They clearly cleared him on having that alibi, but it's just so weird, like that she would go missing at his apartment. Like, gosh, the bad luck. You know what I mean?
And then you're somehow not there. This is the time where you're not there.
And obviously they
after a fight too. Big fight.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's why I said it would be the perfect murder, is because this only happens in a movie, that you end up, your girlfriend goes missing and everybody thinks it's you, but they can't get you, even though it happened at your own apartment. Like, this is when somebody sets you up and it's a movie and there's a twist at the end. Like, this doesn't happen in real life.
Dang. And I mean, what if, she could have been talking to the baby dad on some, like, if you want to see your kid type stuff. And she could have been telling him this, like, hey, the baby dad's trying to get back and see his kid. And he's not cool with it because, of course, he's that alpha male tough guy.
What was said at the restaurant that caused the storm off?
I'm speculating right now because I'm just like, well,
I'm with you there. I want to know what caused that. She stayed there for 3 hours. I have never sat at a restaurant for 3 hours. Never.
Especially, and if you're doing what you could have Ubered, you could have done so many things. You didn't have to sit there. If you knew he was just going to leave you there.
There's surveillance footage of her at the restaurant as well. I will link that in the show notes. And And sadly, there are no theories for this case. Police have no clues. How crazy is this? I mean, we have a woman on camera going into this apartment complex and never leaving. She just vanished. This does not happen. Somebody has to know something.
Yeah, I mean, especially an apartment complex.
It's insane. Like this isn't like out in the boonies. No. This is an apartment complex in Dallas.
Yeah,
isn't Dallas
there are several other cities in Texas. You could have told me this, and I'd been like
Lockhart,
Amarillo. Just some out of the blue names.
I mean, honestly, the last couple of cases have been in little small town, but this is Dallas. This to me is baffling. A detective on the case recently spoke with 5 NBC DFW and said this is the case that haunts him. Police canvassed the area on several occasions following her disappearance, but are pleading for any present or former tenants who did not speak to police to come forward. The detective actually stated, I fully believe somebody saw something and I need that person to come talk to me. The way he was talking to me was like that he agrees with my theory that somebody in that apartment complex had to have been the one that took her.
I mean, that's really... Honestly, it's the most logical thing. It's the most logical thing because, like, she didn't leave the complex.
Nope.
She didn't leave the complex. So it's like she didn't get her car. Her vehicle was never moved. And I mean, right there, that shows that this isn't somebody who, like, this is not something that's planned out or something that someone who's done stuff like this before, you know, like, because you wouldn't leave the car there.
Yeah.
I would think you'd move that.
And I have to assume, what about her phone records? Where did she ping? Did she ever leave? Did the phone records? I mean, she was just on the phone with her friend right before her disappearance. So I have to assume and hope that that's what's being worked on right now. Because again, this case happened in 2019. So this is recent. So I have to hope that is what police are working on now. But that is my question. Where did her cell phone ping after this?
Yeah, because isn't it a thing where, like, before it turns off, right, it'll ping its, like, last location?
Well, it would have pinged, right, yes. And so if it'll just give us a better idea of what happened. Did the phone go off right away? That lets us know it was in the apartment. You know what I mean?
Because if they can get, like, like, where it was, at least, right, we could tell if she left the apartment at all. Like, if somehow someone got her out of there. And, like,
you know? And I'm interested to know the connections. Did the ex-boyfriend know anyone in the apartments? Were they friends with anybody in the apartments? Like, to me, this is what narrows down. And again, I have to assume that that's what they're doing right now. But this is how you do police work. This is what narrows it down. Oh, so you're friends with so-and-so? Great. So you guys know them. So she would have felt comfortable coming over here to talk to you. Well, who was here with you? That, you know what I mean? Like,
and you know what? If this is the last place that she has seen, the ex-boyfriend, he then would know, hey, I talked to this guy. Did you see her? That would be my thing as, like, a ex-boyfriend. If this is where she was, you know, like, I know who I talked to. I know who she's seen me talk to. So it's like, I know who she should.
Right. Who she would have been comfortable with. Yeah.
So I would ask.
Yeah.
He has no care. What a scumbag.
I hate him. This is the saddest part of this story. Prisma's mother says every day is another day she suffers not knowing what happened to her daughter. Embrace yourself, Chris. Her grandson turned 8 years old last month. So Prisma's son turned 8 years old last month. He said Peralta, her mother, said he told her for his birthday that the one wish he had was to know what happened to his mother.
That's so sad.
To know that he suffers from this. He's the one that lives with it. I mean, it's already sad enough that her mother has to deal with her loss, but her son had that feeling that you had every night when mom would whatever. When, you know, and you'd feel worried that she wouldn't make it home. Unfortunately for him, that worry came true. And that's fucked up. And whoever knows what happened to her and did something to her or didn't let her leave or whatever, you are a fucked up person because of her son, and not even just because of her. just because of the son alone, but bigger picture because of her, but it's like so many reasons why it's just fucked up and sad that a person, a human, can exist in this world and go missing. This is the same thing I feel about my friend Susanna. I think of this all the time. How did I talk to you a year ago and now you've just disappeared?
You're vanished. You're gone.
And the world expects things to keep going on like you never existed. And it pisses me off, to be honest.
It doesn't, but it goes back to how a person, like, what does this person value life as? Someone can do that. People do that. Like, that is someone who doesn't value a life. They don't understand that. They can't feel that because they have taken away what makes this person even human. Just a base, like.
Right. They're fucking psychopaths.
Yeah.
So what is your theory, Chris? What do you think?
I'm honestly gonna say there's no way it was baby dad. I've already crossed that out in my mind just because
he had no ties to her life. He couldn't have known.
There's
really.
No way, but
I'd be shocked.
After she's missing, I would it would make sense to step up and want to raise your child.
Want to raise your kid. I see that too.
It's already without.
It's a little fucked up knowing that you'd be trying to take them from a family he's already. I mean, this boy is known as grandma his whole life, and now you're gonna try to take him away, and you've never been there. And kind of a little selfish. I hope the judges take that into consideration. But I understand too. I mean, you would want to step up. That's, Yeah,
I mean, especially without her there. So I would say that it has to be somebody who was. I'm not going to say it was like a white van situation, pick her up, scoop out of there, but it had to have been something that felt familiar, at least to her. A familiar face, someone she saw talking to him once or twice, maybe just like someone she wanted to console him real quick on why he's acting the way he is, something like that.
Yeah.
But then that further goes into, well, why didn't the boyfriend himself do some further digging? Like, why don't you care? So I have further, because he could definitely be a suspect.
Do you suspect him?
Yeah, because even if she went somewhere and it was someone else who did this, why aren't you looking? Like, why don't you have more urgency for this person being gone, being missing? Like, you don't, so you didn't care.
Yeah. I mean, he made that clear when he left her at the restaurant.
That's true. That was already established.
And I guess, I would question, I mean, of course, we don't know the alibi, so I can't say. I mean, when did you leave? When did you know what I mean? Where were you? How far is it? Could you have swooped back around? I mean, hell, Dallas is, 2 hours from us? So how far were you really? Because, I mean, I've taken trips to Dallas, I
have a few questions for him because that just doesn't make sense. Like, do y'all have proof that he was where he says he is?
I have to hope and assume that it's a solid alibi.
I mean, I could hit up family all day, friends, family, all of them, and be like, hey, remember, if this happens, I'm here, you know? So I don't trust that completely.
Well, Prisma was 26 years old when she went missing. She stood 5'2" tall and weighed 135 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes. She was last seen wearing a red polo shirt, blue jeans, and black sneakers. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Prisma Reyes, please contact the Mesquite, is that how you say that?
Mesquite, yeah.
Police Department at 972-285-6336. That is all I have for us today, guys. Don't forget to catch me and Dee on Tuesday's episode of Tube Addicts, and follow us on Instagram, Tube Addict Podcast, for all updates.
And I would like to take this time to say to any person, especially with Forgotten Fridays, because dead, alive, these people are never forgotten to someone. Like in this case with our current situation with Prisma, her family will always remember her. Her son will always remember her. She is forgotten right now as far as the case goes and how it's not resolved, but eventually it will be everything comes to the light eventually. But what I want to do is take the time to say that I feel you. With anyone who has lost someone, they are not forgotten. They will always be remembered, and my heart goes with you. And we will see you next time on Forgotten Fridays.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.